DC Wayne said Adam Silver should be ashamed. The flopping, the egregious tanking, the extreme restrictions on the salary cap costing role players millions, calling the NBA a highlight-based sport. Just terrible, said DC Wayne. I mean, look, Adam is under a lot of criticism right now. I think he's feeling it from media prior to the All-Star break. We heard it in the lead up there with all the tanking. He's right now, fans are still annoyed with everything right now. Like I said at the time of the All-Star break, I think when sometimes in life where you find out who someone really is, whether it's a friend, family member, or yourself, it's when you're against the wall, when you're under pressure. And with Adam Silver, this is, I think, a situation this summer and in the coming year or two, we're going to find out who he really is as a commissioner. And so I look forward to seeing what Adam Silver does with the tanking. I look forward to seeing what he does when it comes to addressing some of the stuff right now in the NBA with the standings and the tanking. Is there ways to incentivize things from the top to the bottom? Are there ways to curtail the losing? I think this is going to be where this guy who's installed the play-in tournament, the NBA Cup, they've experimented with things over the years, different all-star formats and all that. He's shown a willingness to try things. I look forward to seeing what that guy does now, where criticism has ramped up more than it's ever has been. And when it comes to ideas, Tom, for the NBA, Ryan over on Threads, I did a little Q&A on Threads, and Ryan said, what's next for the NBA playoffs? Because the play-in hasn't helped competitiveness in the bottom of the league. Is it time to remove conference affiliation and reward the top 16 teams? Oh. And I wonder if when the NBA expands, whenever they move to 31 or 32 teams, will we see Adam Silver make a change along these lines? Just go to conference list, top 16 teams. Because, I mean, I think travel is really the only pushback, and then tradition is the only other pushback. But if you look at it right now, the top 16 teams, we'd have Thunder Warriors, Pistons Heat, Spurs Magic, Celtics Sixers, Knicks Suns, Rockets Raptors, Wolves Lakers, Cavs Nuggets. Those would be our first round matchups if it were the current top 16 teams. Would you be in favor of something like this, Tom? Do you think it would be better? Do you think it would improve the quality of the end of the regular season where we're in this lull right now?
100%. It's the most ethical way to do it. And the NBA has benefited this year because the Western Conference and the East has not been so lopsided this year. It's fairly even this year, but this is most a problem when the Western Conference is so much better, as it has historically been, than the Eastern Conference. And so, you know, we've heard it so much with LeBron and how he had such an easy road to get to the NBA Finals with the Cavs and the Heat that we should go to 1 through 16. I think that was when it was at its strongest. I like this. I would add another rule, which we've talked about before. I think the top seeds should be able to pick their opponent, especially in an age where there's so many injured stars, that you could have a team where they're the number 3 team in the standings, or the number 4 team in the standings, but they just lost their best player. And maybe the number 1 seed, the Detroit Pistons, wants to face the New York Knicks without Jalen Brunson or something like that. Or the Pistons would rather face Philadelphia if Tyrese Maxey was out. That's the sort of thing that I think would juice up a lot of energy and enthusiasm, is if the first round opponents could pick their the top seeds could pick their first round opponents, and it would be a lot more fun. It would be a lot more dramatic. It would be a lot more messy in the league, and I think it would draw a lot more interest if that were to be the case. But I can understand why we'll never see the 1 through 16 tournament, because the Eastern Conference owners don't want it. If they see that historically they've had a cakewalk to the NBA Finals, why would the East teams vote for that? But again, this is Adam Silver's job, is to convince the owners, the people that he works for, and say, this is for the betterment of the league. Think about the logo. Think about the NBA. The NFL, I feel like, does a much better job at protecting the shield, so to speak. And it's time for the owners to look at the big picture here about the NBA draft, about the draft lottery odds, about the 1 through 16 tournament, and start thinking what's best for the NBA brand. And I think these tweaks would be so much better for the NBA brand, even if it might be a disadvantage to the Eastern Conference. I think that is something that Adam Silver has to do a better job of. He's done great on the TV media deals, but in terms of getting the owners to line up and realize what's best for the league, I think there's some work to be done there.
The NBA right now, Tom, is in its annual lull, right? I think at this point, the standings are the standings. We know who's going to be in the playoffs for the most part. College basketball is in its final stretch. March Madness about to begin. The World Baseball Classic just began this week, and that was great a few years back. It's probably going to be great again this year. NFL is in the middle of free agency right now, and the draft lead up, and the NBA, we're just kind of waiting for the playoffs to begin. We're just kind of waiting 6-7 weeks right now. And Adam Silver's going to do something about that because you can't lose interest from people down the final stretch of the season. That's why I've always been a supporter of letting the top seeds choose their opponent. You have to let, I think Adam Silver really needs to think about this. The NBA has to let the top playoff seeds choose their first round opponent. The D-League did this back in 2008 through 2014. They experimented with this in the then D-League, now the G-League. Because in the NBA, you have incentives. Right now, the incentives that are a negative that they need to figure out. If you're at the bottom, the worse your record, the better your lottery odds. Your incentives in the middle with the plan. If you're the 7 or the 8 seed, you win one game, you get the 7 seed. If you're the 9 or 10 seed, you have to win 2 games and you'll get the 8 seed. The 5th and 6th seeds, you get a guaranteed playoff spot. That's your incentive. But the current incentives at the top of the league, 1 through 4, you get home court advantage. That's great. If you're 1, you get home court through the entire conference playoffs. If you're a 2, 3, you do for the first and second round, right? All the money that comes from the more home games, there's incentive there, but it's not enough because does it really matter if the Celtics, the Knicks, or the Cavs or 2, 3, or 4? We might even see one of those teams lose on purpose down the stretch of the season in order to get a different seeding, a better playoff matchup, because getting a better playoff matchup is the greater incentive than being a 2 instead of a 3. So right now in the NBA, it doesn't really matter who's second behind the Pistons in the Eastern Conference, but if you have the top 3 seeds with the ability to choose their first round opponent, the Pistons are going to get the first choice. But imagine the fight down the stretch between the Celtics, the Knicks, and the Cavs to get that second seed, the great importance. Not only do you get home court in the first and second round, and possibly even the conference finals if the Pistons lose out early on, but you also get second choice for the playoffs behind Detroit. I just think about, like, what about even in the West? OKC or San Antonio, it matters who ends up the first seed in a way because of home court. But can you imagine if the incentive was to get first choice in the Western Conference playoffs? It would matter significantly more. Instead, right now, it's kind of just random. It could be a really good team that ends up the 8th seed. And then if you're the 1 seed, you're like, well, damn, we wish we were the 7. Well, no, I mean, you should be able to choose your first round opponent. The NBA tried this, Tom. They did it in the D-League, and executives didn't like it because they didn't want to make the choice. It put their jobs on the line, more pressure. Again, it speaks to what you're talking about. It's for the greater good of an entertainment product, the NBA. And so who cares if some of these executives are crying because they have more pressure on them more than they already do? It's not about you. It's about the fans. It's about creating the best product possible in order to bring in as much money as possible for them and to make the product as best possible for the fans. And something like this is just such an easy win. Imagine the playoff draft, Tom. Oh, my God. It'd be incredible.
It'd be so great. It'd be so great. And Adam does have to fight this, is the idea that after the trade deadline, there's this lull in the NBA season, right? Is that there's no trade talk dominating the conversation. There's no NFL. And so all of these warts in the league are just a lot more under the microscope. And we're just waiting for the playoffs to start. Because, Kev, I don't think you and I would disagree on this. I think the playoffs, all this stuff just goes away. All this talk about all of the things that Adam Silver needs to do to fix this NBA, 95% of that conversation is done in the playoffs because the playoffs are awesome. That's what everyone gets excited for. It's just this regular season that at a certain point, it becomes a preseason. And that's what the NBA needs to fight against, is these games not feeling like they matter. Stars sitting. We just saw the Washington Wizards announce that Keyshawn George was going to be out with an injury and that they're going to slowly bring him back because they want to be conservative with him. Like, what are we doing here? Like, Adam Silver has to figure out a way to get these games to matter more, to have players playing more. And I think a lot of this is reducing the schedule so you get rid of back-to-backs. You no longer have the incentive to rest guys on the second night of a back-to-back. I'm covering a team, the Portland Trailblazers, where Rob Williams doesn't play second nights of back-to-back, but I would love that every game, if I could say, I don't have to think about Rob Williams if he's playing or not. I don't have to think about Matisse Thybulle or Drew Holiday if they're going to play or not because it's the second night of a back-to-back. No fan should have to look at their schedule and say, oh, it's a second night of a back-to-back. I can't guarantee. I'm not going to go to this game because I'm not sure that my favorite player is going to play. Like that, we need to just carve that part of that conversation out of it. So I think that's a big thing. Another thing we've talked about that you've said will never happen. But if everyone was pulling from the same rope in the same league and looking at the same logo, they would understand rookie free agency would be unbelievably fun. Unbelievably fun.
This one's not happen. This one won't happen. But the other one's maybe. We'll see there. I mean, we're just in a lull right now.